Shai again, sizing up Murphy. Drives, floats, hangs, and scores on the turnaround. J-Dub way behind the three-point line and hits way behind the three-point line. Got blocked. What a rejection by Holmgren. Standing tall like a wall.
This is Udart. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Uncontested NBA Cup post-game show, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and Prairie Artisan Ales. I'm your host on this Tuesday evening, JD Silva, joined by a couple of fellows. The first one, it's Justin.
Hello, everybody.
And the second one's Taylor Peterson.
Vegas.
I've been waiting all night for that, TP.
Taylor, what you didn't see what just happened, but you were muted on StreamYard.
I literally got the little notification up in the corner. It said that's chemistry right there. Team chemistry. And
you were
Silva unmuted
me.
me.
Shot unmuted right when it happened.
Silva with the oop.
It was like Caruso to Cason for the
my God.
Just like that.
Yes. Well, I feel like a rabid dog ready to be let off the leash. But before we do that, be sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a 5-star rating. Come hang out with us in the Discord by joining our Patreon. QR code is above me here. Pretty low entry point, and we have a blast in there hanging out during the game.
The Discord was unhinged tonight.
We had a great time.
It was a blast. I used the analogy in our uncontested text that it's like Dr. Frankenstein watching the monster he created come to life. The degeneracy in the Discord tonight was top tier.
Yeah, top tier. It's a great place to be. You can also find the link to our Patreon in our description of this episode.
I was just going to say really quick, speaking of degeneracy, gotta love this.
Yes.
So Tim McMahon, ESPN reporter, mainly for the Dallas Mavericks. He's covered a handful of teams now, including the Thunder, over the past couple of seasons. But it was when Dallas, I guess when they qualified for this game against the Thunder, they were playing Nipsey Hussle's last time that I checked in the locker room after that game. And McMahon reported on it. And he said, when the Mavericks won here in Oklahoma City, their weight room post-game was blaring Nipsey Hussle. Well, just here about 10 minutes ago, he said, guess what song played on their arena speakers a couple of minutes after the final buzzer in OKC?
That is
great trolling.
Whoever the DJ is at Paycom deserves a bonus. That's awesome.
The attention to detail. Yes. Very well done. Fellas, let's get into this game.
Yes.
It's cup night. It's quarterfinals night. Playing against an arch nemesis in the Dallas Mavericks, who have kicked the Thunder's ass a bit. They're one of the more tough matchups, especially in recent times when the Thunder have been contenders, knocked us out of the playoffs, obviously, beat us earlier this season. But tonight the Thunder took care of business, 118-104. Hell of a game. Let's get into it. Mother of God, where do we start? A lot to break down. Let's do some takeaways first. Where do you guys want to start? Is SGA feels like the biggest takeaway from this game? If you're going to name one thing, SGA was like the deciding factor. A plus 22 in this game, 39 points on 15 of 23. Shai 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, a block, did everything.
Shai was unreal. He looked like a man on a mission from the word go tonight. He came out and was aggressive. He shot 8 threes?
9 threes. He was
9
5
threes.
3 tonight.
9 threes.
Pretty incredible.
In just a little out of character, but not in a way that made you concerned. It was out of aggression. I think you saw a different side of Shai tonight. He was getting to his spot all night long, and you could see the frustration mounting for the Mavericks defenders. Late in the game, Shai was matched up on Klay and was backing him down and did like 2 fake pivots and then ended up hitting a fall-away shot right over Klay, and Klay just kind of threw his hands up in the air after the ball went through the hoop, and that's kind of the night it was for the Mavericks all night long. There was nothing anyone could do to stop Shai. He easily looked like the best player on the floor tonight. MVP caliber performance from Shai on a big stage with a berth to Las Vegas on the line. He delivered in every way possible.
Justin, you mentioned the hot start that he got off to. SGA had 16 points in the first quarter on incredible efficiency. I don't think I have that pulled up, but yet again, 16 points in the first quarter. Only scored 2 in the second quarter for the Thunder. Now, some of that, and something that we can kind of get into, is when Shai goes off the court, the second unit really struggles, even with J-Dub kind of leading that second unit. It hasn't been great for a majority of the season. And the second quarter for the Thunder wasn't great after I think the Mavs got off to like an 8-0 start. The Thunder responded with like a 15-1 run after that. Just dominated the first quarter. Second quarter, they let the Mavs get back into it. Luka only had like 2 points in the second quarter, and yet it was only a 3-point game. Najee Marshall was playing great. Some of the other role players, stop me if you heard this before, for the Mavericks, stepped up there. But my point being, I think Shai could have had an even bigger game than he did tonight. And it is just kind of crazy. 39 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 15 of 23 from the floor. Guess what, guys? Free throw merchant Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, only 4 free throw attempts. He was 4 of 4 from the free throw line, had 3 steals and a block, only 2 turnovers.
We had Smoot in the chat noting that Shai made more 3-pointers tonight than he had free throw attempts. So
that's crazy.
Stick that in your free throw merchant narrative and smoke it.
Speaking of that narrative, I'm very glad the game did not become that. Our takeaway from this game is not the refereeing in a negative sense, but it easily could have been. It was kind of dark there for a while. They were losing control of the game.
But Silva, Mavericks still outdo the Thunder on free throw margin, 19 attempts to 7 attempts. I don't believe the Thunder took a free throw in the fourth. I know that was true through at least
fourth, Justin. They did not attempt a free throw unless
second half.
Unless I missed something at the very end of the game, they did not attempt a free throw.
Right.
In the entire second half of the game.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
I don't get it. And
I don't get it either.
J-Dub was getting. Oh yeah, Mark was pissed off. Apparently, in the first half, I think it was the second quarter. One of the referees apparently refed the Mavs game against the Pelicans, where they had
26 in the fourth,
and they had 26 free throw attempts in the fourth quarter, and he called her out for that. I thought
he called her out for it, and then at halftime when TNT was interviewing him, he mentioned it on the broadcast too. It was clearly wanted to get that one across.
Love it.
And thank God that something like that didn't happen to take away from a very exciting win.
Yep.
To a refereeing like that leeches from the crowd, and the crowd from even just the TV seemed incredible tonight. If there's anyone that attended the game, let us know in the comments.
Also, I said the Pelicans. It was the Grizzlies. Thank you, Smoot.
Grizzlies.
Yes,
you're right.
Incredible game. I kind of wondered if Mark was going to if this game took a dark turn, was this going to be a game where Mark got ejected? Because he seemed to be on one.
He was
on a mission.
Yeah, he was. He was. Before we move on from Shai, though, should we just go ahead and award the King of the Prairie?
We absolutely should.
Feels like the only candidate.
Does feel like the only candidate. The MVP of the team and the King of the Prairie on this evening, brought to you by Prairie Artisan Ales, our good friends over there.
Shout out Prairie. Get you some holiday beers. They have plenty to choose from this time of year. They have some gift sets where you can get a couple bottles of beer and a glass to go with it. Very classy. We had some people in the Discord tonight actually talking about they visited Prairie for the first time. Got to experience it live. So if you haven't been, go check it out. They got some good stuff. And they get to sponsor the King of the Prairie, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, tonight.
Hell of a player.
He's a hell of a player.
Hell of a player.
I honestly thought he had 30-something there in the third quarter. I was thinking he might just get his career high tonight, which is now 46 points. I believe it was 44 points for forever last season. He matched it 3 different times. Yeah. He got 46 earlier this season, 39 for Shai tonight. But again, no complaints. He was just absolutely fantastic.
Do you guys go ahead, Taylor?
Well, you go ahead, because I was going to transition us to another player.
Well, I was going to say, do you want to talk about the other side of the coin, the number one player for the Mavs?
Yes, I do.
Because that feels like notable. Luka is widely considered a top 5 guy. Everyone knows Luka Dončić, but he was largely quiet in this game.
More like Poopa Dončić.
Valiant effort.
Yeah, it didn't really come out
late.
right. Anyway, Luka, his worst first half scoring output since his rookie year. 2 points. Started off 1 of 9 from the floor. He did get it together. He did get it together later, and I'm not going to say that one out loud, but that's well done, Grant. He did get it together late in the game to end up with 16 points, but didn't affect the game. The worst Luka performance against Oklahoma City in a long time, and the Thunder defense had that man in hell. Lou Dort was glued to him, so much so that you had Mavs accounts on Twitter just coping of like, oh, look at the aura. It takes so much aura to get guarded like this when you don't even have the ball. Like, what are you talking about? Oh, what point are you trying to make here? The Thunder had a great defensive strategy against the Mavericks tonight. They got all over Luka and Kyrie anytime they came off a ball screen, and it mucked up the Mavs offense. It was successful and cool that they got some points, but the Thunder's defense shut down Luka at coming off 2 straight triple doubles, right? Like Luka's been hot. The Mavs have been hot. They'd won 12 of 13 coming into tonight, and Oklahoma City stifled them and made them work for everything tonight. And there was one MVP candidate on the floor tonight. I'll say that much.
And it wasn't Luka. I think Luka's 2 points in the first half was the lowest scoring he's had in a half, I believe I saw, since his rookie season.
I already said that, Taylor.
Sorry, I missed that part.
But thanks for reemphasizing.
Silva, you used the analogy earlier when we were talking about Shai compared to Luka, like 2 sides of the coin. I think there's 2 sides of the coin when you talk about how the Thunder defended Luka tonight. They were throwing double teams at him. In the first half, I was a little frustrated. It was great that Luka only had 2 points, but that led to guys like Najee Marshall, even Klay Thompson getting some 3-point attempts up, just some wide open corner threes. It makes it so much harder to rotate to those wide open corner threes, which the Dallas Mavericks just torched the Thunder on in the playoffs when you're doubling Luka like that. Now, that being said, in the second half, it paid its dividends because the Thunder stepped up defensively in other ways. They're getting steals and deflections. They were just swarming there in the third quarter to the point that it didn't really matter. But my kind of counter argument to how they defended Luka is like, okay, you can make the Najee Marshalls and others step up. But like, they didn't have PJ Washington tonight. And also, you have some of the best perimeter defenders in the league on your team. Not just one, multiple. Yep. And I wouldn't have minded, especially come playoff time, if we see the Mavericks again, I wouldn't have minded them playing Luka straight up a little more.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's got to be in Mark's back pocket, because I was looking at the box score from the Mavericks game from November 17th, and I forgot that Caruso also did not play in that game. There was no Ihart and there was no Caruso.
Yep.
That explains a lot of what we saw tonight. Like,
it's a big difference.
That's a big, big difference. Those guys are highly, highly, highly impactful players, making winning
Silva,
plays all the time.
Could Alex Caruso stop PJ Washington?
I don't know if anybody can stop PJ Washington.
It's like an unstoppable force versus an immovable object.
Right.
Listen, Justin, Alex Caruso can do anything.
I was cackling on my couch when you tweeted the picture of One Punch Man.
I always think about it. He's just
so good.
Bald hero. Love that guy.
He is.
George Washington, PJ Washington.
But hey, kind of to that earlier point about how the Thunder defended Luka and the Mavericks in general. The Mavericks had a higher field goal percentage, 47.5% in comparison to Thunder's 45.5%. And they shot better from 3, barely, 41.7% to the Thunder's 40% from 3. Like, I find that fascinating.
You know what's fascinating about it, Taylor? It's because Oklahoma City out-rebounded the Mavericks, 52-44. Oklahoma City had 17 offensive rebounds tonight to the Mavericks 7. think back to every other game OKC's played against the Mavericks in the last season and a half. That's not been the story.
Ever.
7 offensive rebounds for the Mavs. Like, of all the things, shutting down Luka, obviously, like, huge accomplishment. The way the team was flying all over the place, forcing turnovers, huge accomplishment. But only allowing 7 offensive rebounds to this Mavericks team, where that's kind of been a big part of their offense against OKC. That's a big deal. Hart obviously is a big role in that, but everybody was flying all around, getting all the loose balls, getting the rebounds, putting a body on guys, making it tough. It was a total team effort, but that's a huge difference for this team against the Mavericks.
That is blowing my balls off right now, Justin. I did not know the rebounding was that
blowing Menards off.
Blowing your nards off.
No, not your nards, Menards.
Oh, blowing Menards off.
The hardware store.
Shout out all the Patreon listeners who got a bonus podcast last night.
Yes,
recapping that.
Yes.
No, I think that's a great point about the rebounds and also obviously the turnovers. That first quarter, I think the Thunder had like 11 turnovers. They ended the night only forcing 17 turnovers, but had 36 points off those turnovers.
19 according to ESPN.
Oh, okay.
But
well,
yes,
CBS,
36 points off turnovers. That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah, I remember talking to Nick after that last Mavericks game about how, like, well, the Mavericks are just a bad matchup for OKC. And our kind of reasoning for that was, well, they have Gafford and Lively, two really bouncy athletic bigs. Intro Isaiah Hartenstein. We can talk about him now. That dude is, we say it all the time, third best player on the team right now. For most of tonight. Awesome. He was kind of the second best player for most of the game tonight. J-Dub was, and we'll get to that, it was a quiet night for him until late. Like, Hartenstein was the guy still.
Nick had a great tweet earlier tonight that the Thunder are 16-2 when either Chet or Isaiah Hartenstein play this season. 16-2 when we have a center, basically, is an insane stat. And they've yet to play together. This team is, we talked about it on Sunday, like, what does this team look like in their final form? Even just seeing a matchup like this, which we've gotten very familiar with, seeing the Thunder versus the Mavericks, seeing it with Isaiah Hartenstein and how much that dynamic changes. He opens up so much, obviously on defense, but even on the offensive end, he's such a great fit for Oklahoma City's guards and how he fits within them and can open things up on that end of the floor that I think forces Dallas, again, a team that we've seen match up against Oklahoma City live, forces Dallas to play the Thunder a little bit different defensively when you have to account for Hartenstein.
10 points, 13 rebounds for Hartenstein. Thunder are 8-1 this season with Hartenstein in the lineup. He's been absolutely significant. And like you mentioned, Justin, just him being down there, battling down low, deflecting shots, whether he's actually getting blocks or just deferring shots at the rim. Kyrie had trouble, even though he still made some incredible shots. Obviously, Luka, but every Mavericks player who drove him to the rim had a ton of trouble when Hartenstein was down there. Shout out Kenneth Williams. He did a lot of the same stuff when they were playing small ball. By Hart was incredible, and that 8-1 stat just really stands out to me. He's been huge for this Thunder team.
So I kept waiting for those infamous like backdoor lobs that the Mavs always get off on us, and that just didn't happen tonight. And it wasn't just iHeart doing that. And J-Dub put a hell of an effort into stopping that as well.
It's a great point. J-Dub disrupted a lot of lobs at the rim. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't his best offensive night, like you said, so we'll get into J-Dub at a certain point. But defensively, I thought he played really well.
There was a small stretch where the Mavs got a few lobs, but I thought it was really interesting. I think it was coming out of halftime. They had a little bit of a Shai mic'd up segment where they were playing some of his clips that came from the first half. And he was talking to Jay Will, interestingly enough, talking to someone that's not even playing, but talking about how they can't give up those backdoor lobs and they need to stay home on defense. So definitely, like, it was clearly in the game plan, something to watch out for. And it looked a lot different. It wasn't as repetitive as in games past. You know who was mic'd up? Yeah, Smoot. Okay, I have to address this. The giant bald elephant in the room. Why was Jason Kidd tonight? Like, we got no less than 7 different solo shots of J. Kidd during game action, And then even when they weren't showing him, we had audio. So my my favorite part was I don't remember what was happening in the game, but just out of nowhere, no context, you just have full volume Jason Kidd going, soft, 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 soft. Like, why are we doing this?
So I actually didn't watch the game tonight on TNT. I switched it over to FanDuel.
Oh, so you missed out on the Kidd experience.
I was on FanDuel also.
I watched the previous game with the Bucks. And I'm going blank now.
Our brains are so rotted.
I know. It's like
the Magic?
the Magic. Thank you. But they had coaches mic'd up as well, and you just heard them just like talking the whole time in the background. It was so
Was it
awkward.
both coach? I didn't watch more than like the last couple minutes of that game. Was it both
They would
coaches?
alternate. They would alternate between two of them, but it was
That
just
makes
so,
me wonder. So I had this thought during the game, but now that you say that, it makes me wonder, did Daignault just say no thank you?
I think he turned that off.
I bet he did.
Screw that.
That's my coach right there.
Love
That's
that guy.
right. Love it.
Can you imagine if you got full volume, just like mid-game, him chewing out the ref about the 26 free throws?
Mark drops so many more F-bombs than any fan would.
Oh my God.
I love it. Mark's the best.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Love that.
Hey, one player we haven't talked about that I really want to get into, and that's why I started bringing him up when we talked about King of the Prairie. Obviously, it has to go to Shai. And look, you look at this player's box score, and you may think I'm crazy, but honestly, I thought tonight was Cason Wallace's best game in the Thunder uniform.
I
Damn it,
might
you're
be
right.
there with you.
11 points, 8 rebounds. 8 rebounds. That goes back to Justin's big. I'm glad you brought that up, Justin. Just the rebounding as a whole.
Team effort.
4 assists. He was only 4 of 10 from the 4, 3 of 9 from 3. Those 3 threes that he did hit were significant. Honestly, it is pretty amazing to me that he had only attempted 2 field goal attempt. Now that I look at the box score, but he was just all over the place. 2 steals, 1 block. The 1 block was when he was defending Luka straight up and just blocked him right in his face. Like,
And
there are not many perimeter defenders who can do that.
I just have to add, not only did Cason attempt 1 2-point field goal attempt, it was an alley-oop from Alex Caruso.
Yeah, what the
On
hell?
a steal. Which is
What?
under the best
My
at
God.
What was that?
Yeah.
That was incredible.
Yeah.
But I thought Cason did such a great job. Obviously, he was switched on to some of those players like Kyrie and Luka often. And he had the primary, he was the primary defender on Kyrie in that starting lineup. Thought he was absolutely fantastic defensively. He has made so many things happen. A lot of that came from those offensive and defensive rebounds, like we mentioned, with the 8 rebounds that he had. But man, I thought he was all over the place. And even if the efficiency wasn't great, the 3 threes that he did hit were significant and came at huge times.
Yeah.
I was just waiting for a breakout. It's like all game, it looked like he was about to just break out at any moment, and in a way, he did. But his like defensive impact is undeniable, and this team's defensive level and stealing in general is undeniable. I sometimes can't believe what I'm watching. Like, it looks so suffocating, and even though we may have doubts about the offense and who's going to be the number 2 on a given night, it should be J-Dub, but it's not always. He's still a third-year guy at this point. Like, the defense is always there, and you can tell when they flip the switch, and it's just like, okay, you're just not going to score for the next 5 minutes.
Queso's defense, I mean, think about who he got asked to guard. He guarded Luka, he guarded Kyrie, and he guarded everyone in between, and he held his own in all the matchups. But I think, to your point, Silva, total team defense tonight might be the best it's looked all season in general, right? Like, there were moments tonight that were just unbelievable. Some of the turnovers in the first half, it felt like 3 or 4 times in the first half, Dallas was trying to get like a little slip fast break, throwing like a football pass down the field, and our deep safety picked it off every time. They kept shutting down. Anytime Dallas tried to get a little greedy on offense, Oklahoma City had somebody there to snatch it away. Like, it was so
Caruso,
impressive.
Easton, J-Dub, they were always back there.
You can look at it from, we saw Mavs accounts on Twitter tonight talking about the Mavericks being careless, and there was some of that for sure, right? Like, there were some sloppy passes. But what I saw more so through my very thunder blue colored glasses was a defense that was just anticipating the hell out of everything the Mavericks were doing. They were making screens messy. They were making like little pocket passes messy. They were mucking it up. They were getting in between the long passes, like I mentioned. Like the defense was so aggressive and so in tune with each other that it just made things difficult. Now there were some times where they, like you mentioned earlier, Taylor, they kind of maybe over helped on doubling guys, and it left some shots open. They gave up some corner
Especially
threes
in the corner.
and a guy like PJ Washington will probably hit all of those if he plays in this game. But in general, the level of aggression that you saw from this defense tonight, what it felt like to me, we talked about how it was a playoff atmosphere. That defense was playoff level defense from this Thunder team. And it was the first time, going back to the Final Form comment, I feel like you got a glimpse of like, all right, when this team's like locked in, it can get, it's scary hours.
This is what it looks like. And it can even be better. We've seen it be better. Even over the past 2 weeks, we've seen it be better. And that's what's incredibly impressive. Also, just a quick aside, speaking of the Thunder defense and leading to some of those fast break opportunities and playing in transition, you got the crowd just going wild. Shout out to the Paycom crowd. I saw some early pictures when they were like announcing the Mavericks starters. I'm like, oh my gosh, Tuesday night game looks pretty empty in Lower Bowl. Doesn't look great. And they filled in as they always do. And Paycom was loud. You could hear it on the broadcast. Like I said, I didn't watch TNT, but the FanDuel broadcast, it was great.
That noise was probably all Jacob in Loud City waving his pants above his head and just howling like a spider monkey.
Oh my God.
But there's been no reports of anybody getting kicked out of the game yet. So
that we've heard. We've heard.
We've heard. David,
haven't heard from Jacob in a while.
What if we got like his phone call from prison live on the pod? He used his one phone call to call into the pod.
To call into the podcast.
Yeah.
Please use the Patreon money to bail me out.
I made a joke about the healthcare shooter and they threw me out.
Oh my God.
Compared him to Isaiah Joe and
easy.
They didn't like it. They threw me out. While you guys were gushing about like the final form of the defense and things like that, I just kept thinking that Chet was like top 3 defensive player of the year candidate, like projected.
Yeah.
And he's not playing right now. And that we still just witnessed an incredible defensive performance. I don't know. It's just
this team doesn't even have Chet yet.
There it is. Shout out Smooth.
Had to say it.
I like it.
Also, can we talk about Chet being in the building, sitting behind the bench, got a little extra room back there, make sure no one falls on his hip, but just chilling in like what I'm assuming is a custom-made velour sweatsuit for a 7-foot tall man. And did you all see the clip of him just looking geeked out of his mind?
Oh my gosh, that man is on some crazy pain pills.
He just sitting back there with his mouth hanging open, like it looks like someone hit the pause button.
It's like Silva after his edibles.
For the Patreon,
it was pretty good.
It was awesome to see him there and see him in the building, and he was getting fired up. That one clip did make me laugh. And I would like the link on where you got that giant sweatsuit because it looked very comfy.
You would rock the hell out of that, Justin.
You bet I would.
You fellow Giants.
In that.
Fellow Giant. That's my problem. Most sweatpants, they're not long enough, Taylor. Look like I'm wearing like knickerbockers from the 1700s, like halfway down my calves.
Not long enough, like you're talking about your legs.
And on that note, let's take our first break of the night. We'll be right
Just
back
our first?
Our only break of the night. Coming up. Be right back, everybody. And we're back. I think it's time to talk about Jaylen Williams.
No.
J-Dub.
Buzzkill. J-Dub.
Not necessarily. He, no pun intended, rebounded there towards the end of the game. But it wasn't.
Kind of got to play in like not garbage time, but like the game was mostly decided, and it was like, okay, now he's showing up, he's doing things. It was just a quiet. This happens to him against the Mavericks.
Dub has not been good against the Mavs.
Well, shit. He was 11 of 17 on the November the November game against the Mavs, 11 of 17.
Okay,
27
in
points.
general,
But I know what you mean because I thought the
Mr.
same
Cherry
thing.
Picker.
I know. I thought the same thing.
In general,
Yeah.
he struggled against the Mavericks. Just doesn't seem to have it. Like, I don't know that I'm probably not smart enough to point out like what the Mavericks are doing to him other than just crowding him and making it tough, keeping him off his spots. But not to be too much of a sunshine pumper, but can you imagine once he figures it out, if he figures it out, like, this is going to be an insane sentence to utter out loud, but like if Jaylen Williams could channel his inner PJ Washington against the Mavs, like,
yeah,
it's over. There, like, what Chet comes back and then J-Dub doesn't play like cheeks, and like how do the Mavs win?
I find that
that's the most biased take I can give on this game for the record.
Look,
it was. I will say I think you bring up a good point, and I think you're spot on. The one thing that the Mavericks did, and the one thing that I didn't really love from the Thunder, it worked out in their favor mainly because of the defense on the other side of the ball that we talked about, but they left the Thunder open from three. They wanted them taking those 3-point attempts. They were packing the paint, and that Shai, it didn't matter because he was on one tonight. I mean, he was absolutely incredible. J-Dub, he started to get there more in the fourth quarter, got a little more comfortable getting to his spots. But something you mentioned there, Justin, is I think the Mavericks did a really good job of taking away those shots that he's comfortable with, those mid-range jumpers, fadeaways. One thing that Dub has to get better at is getting to the rim. And he tried it. He had a couple really nice finishes around the rim over some of the taller Mavs defenders. And I also understand he's not getting calls. Like, I do not understand. Yeah. That's a podcast for another time. But I understand why he's shying away from that for those reasons. That being said, Dub has to be better. And on a night like tonight where he wasn't hitting his three, he was 0 of 3 from 3 tonight, only 8 of 21 from the 4. Shai only had 2 more field goal attempts than J-Dub did. And Dub was 8 of 21. Like, Dub has to be better. And that's the next evolution of his game. When teams are defending him like this, he's going to have to be able to adapt. But I'm also a little concerned about that second unit. I'm not saying we need to go and trade for somebody immediately. We've had a lot of questions about that over the past couple of weeks from listeners. But I would like to see Dub be more aggressive in those situations when Shai is off the court. And we just haven't seen that yet this season.
That was the weak spot offensively from this team tonight for sure, when Shai was off the floor, specifically, like, obviously all game, but at the beginning of the fourth quarter, I forget what the margin was exactly, but the Thunder had a lead of, I want to say it was like 15-ish, and they
got up to 20.
It got up to 20, yep. and then the Mavericks went on a 10-0 run very quickly to cut it down to 10, which is when they brought Shai back in. But during that run, you could just feel it. The offense was stuck in the mud without Shai out there tonight. And again, I think that will continue to be the challenge for this team right now, is who can you count on night in, night out to go get a bucket when Shai's not on the floor? It could be there are so many guys that are capable of it at times, but this team needs somebody who you can rely on, just like you can rely on Shai for 30 points any given night. You need somebody in that second unit that can come in when Shai's on the bench and reliably go get a bucket when it's needed. Because there was a time, like during that run, the Thunder just needed to go get a bucket, right? Like, just stem the run, stop the bleeding, put a little halt to the run, and they couldn't do it. And a couple quick threes and a couple fast breaks, and all of a sudden the lead's cut in half. That's going to continue to be a problem for this team. Like that, if there's an Achilles heel for this team, Achilles heel for this
Achilles.
If there's an Achilles hill, then it's that.
I think you're spot on, Justin. Silva, we had a comment in the chat from Smooth Criminal 555. Said Coach Mark is doing the right thing, forcing J-Dub and Mitchell to grow by having to create for themselves without SGA. I love that. I think it's a fantastic point. That's been my counter argument to everybody saying they need to go and trade for somebody who can come off the bench and score immediately. But that being said, we're still going to be critical when it's not working with Shai off the bench. I'm curious, when he's on the bench. I'm curious your thoughts, Silva.
Yeah, you have to let him get the reps. Like, you never ever, the Thunder, don't operate like that. Some organizations do operate like that, where it's like, okay, this guy's not doing what we want, get someone else in here. But the Thunder are let him get the reps. Like whether he succeeds or fails, as long as he's following the right process, is a Thunderism, Markism. Like if he's following the process and the plan that the team laid out and taking the right shots, then yeah, they're gonna let him go out there and cook. And tell me if you guys agree. It does kind of feel like the missing piece in J-Dub's game. Like whenever you think of a reliable playoff scorer, you think I always think of guys that know how to draw fouls. Like that's kind of what when the game grinds down and you just like need a bucket.
Yep.
You have to be able to draw. You have to at least have the threat of drawing a foul because guys guard you differently if they know that you have that skill. And J-Dub, especially against the Mavs, they guard him super physically. Right. And if he had the rep of getting more fouls, it's a slippery slope, the whole foul discussion thing. But you guys know what I mean. Like if he had 2 free throw attempts tonight and he was being played very physically. I thought he deserved more.
Yeah. So Silva and both of you, like this is something that we've talked about on this show for the longtime listeners. Here about 2-3 seasons ago, we're talking about Shai. Like, yes, Shai is emerging. He looks fantastic, but the next step for him is to get to the free throw line. That very next season, he did it. Dub has not gotten to that point yet. And again, some of that is development, and he needs to get a little more aggressive around the rim, being able to absorb contact and also initiate contact to get those calls. At the same time, he's not getting calls. The Thunder team as a whole isn't getting those calls. And so it's just like, know, it's this weird conundrum.
If only Shai really was the free throw merchant that Twitter told me he was, then that wouldn't be a problem.
All 4 free throws tonight.
If he was truly the free throw merchant, couldn't he do like a trickle down economics thing and give some of those free throws to J-Dub to the rest of the team?
Yes, he could.
Boys, we're at 37 minutes. Oh my God, it's Jacob Niffy.
Why am I driving home from the game listening to you guys talk, and this sounds like one of Taylor's oil and gas podcasts?
What are you talking about?
It's boring.
Wow.
They just whooped the Mavs' ass. We should be talking some shit.
I talked about my balls getting blown off earlier, Jacob.
I was going to say, you must have missed the beginning of the show.
It's also like straight out of like Luhan.
It's true.
Everyone wants to know.
Luhan?
Everyone wants to know what your pants situation is, Jacob. The chat's asking.
Were they on? Were they off?
I was in section 308.
Ah, the no pants section.
The no pants section. Going hog wild.
Oh,
I'm kidding. The pants stayed on.
We were talking about trickle down economics just a moment ago.
Yeah,
that's what I thought he was referencing.
What are we doing? They had Luka Dončić in hell.
Yes, they did. I think I used that phrase verbatim earlier.
They had Kyrie locked up so much, this man started reconsidering his anti-Semitic takes. He believes in gravity again.
Wow.
Around Earth.
He believes it. Why do people keep saying "do the voice"? What does that mean?
What's the voice?
Yeah, I don't know what
they
voice
made.
is.
They made Luka look like a little boy.
All I can think of, well, there's that. I was just thinking of Dune.
Yeah, like
the voice.
The voice.
Oh man.
Give him a free throw.
We were wondering, a report from someone who was in the building. What was the crowd like in person? Because it sounded awesome on TV.
Yes, hold on. First, Nick just texted me what the voice was. Mustard! I think that's the voice.
There it is.
We'll take that.
Got it to the seats. As they were saying the national anthem.
Oh,
they weren't.
That was not the voice the chat was referencing.
Oh, what's the voice?
The one about a certain podcaster for the Dallas team.
Y'all want the voice of how Luka Dončić was in hell all night.
Oh my God.
Is that the voice?
I think so. Okay, carry on with your story.
They weren't saying the national anthem. They were singing it. Just to be clear. And by they, I mean he. And I looked and I said, wow, there's not a lot of people here. That ain't good for a cup game.
That was my thought.
That's what Taylor said,
and
too.
And then about halfway, hey, nice shirt, by the way, Taylor.
Twinsies. You guys did that at like the exact same time.
Again,
have you guys plugged these yet on the show?
No, plug away.
Go to cottonbureau.com,
Fantastic.
search the uncontested. You can also be a certified ball knower.
Mm.
If you're a certified ball knower, you might know about Menards. Just want to make sure we're clear there. Justin killed it with this design. Go order yourself a certified ball knower shirt.
Jacob was in section 308 as a certified ball shower. It's different.
It is what it is.
Okay, back to the crowd.
Halfway through the first, the crowd was in full force. It filled in very nicely, very loud. Lots of boos for Luka Dončić.
Love it.
Is her? I'm gonna get this confused. The woman from The Office. What is her name? Like
There
the
was
actress name?
more than one.
Oh, Jenna Fisher?
Okay, I thought that was also this ref's name. Is it not?
I don't believe.
I don't
so.
know.
I think
The
it's
last name might be the same.
Okay, I thought her name was Jenna Fisher too. I'm pretty sure her first name is Jenna.
Blame her.
A lot of people had very disparaging.
Jenna
things to say
Schroeder.
about- Oh,
Schroeder.
a lot of people had
Like
very
Yes.
disparaging things to say about Jenna Schroeder. Rightfully so, because she stinks.
Including Mark Dagnon.
Good for Mark. Good for Mark. But the crowd filled in very nice. Great atmosphere. Had people a little on edge. The Thunder would the first half was just a bunch of runs, 10-0,
Yep.
8-2, 12-5, just these runs back and forth. But gentlemen, and I know you've probably talked about all of this and I haven't heard it, but there's a lot of people in the chat and I'm here to talk some shit tonight.
Just riding vibes. Jacob's
Yes.
riding vibes.
I'm just straight
teed
vibes
you up.
tonight. Boys, there was a lineup tonight that was J-Dub, Alex Caruso,
Cason
Wallace, Lou Dort, Isaiah Hartenstein. There are some folks in this world that when they die, they go to hell. And when the dark black gates of hell open, you see those 5 sons of bitches waiting for you. And that's what Luka Dončić saw tonight. He had them in hell. I mean,
Incredible. Yes.
43-minute mark, dark black gates of hell.
that's a good sounder. There,
Silva is podcasting tonight from the dark gates of hell.
Yes, he is.
Hardly understand him.
Silva's podcasting with the internet of that AOL CD. I don't know about you guys. The turning moment of the game for me, they were just whooping their ass by 20 there in the fourth quarter. I heard you guys talk about how the Mavs made this run to come back. There was a play. Was it a steal? Where J-Dub gets down the court, gets to the rim. Kyrie gets him across the left arm. And was it Spencer Dinwiddie
Yes.
pushes him in the back and gets him on the right arm? And there is no whistle.
No call.
And I maybe said some disparaging things about Jenna Schroeder at that point in time. And J-Dub was pissed. Everyone was pissed. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I definitely felt the vibe in the arena. The team just said, oh, this is how we're going to play? F it. Let's do it. And they just smacked the shit out of them. I mean,
it was a very
Caruso
physical
defense,
game.
Shai was ripping dudes. Hartenstein was just bodying folks and putting them in, giving them a DDT. It was that 2 minutes after that, they cooked them. They absolutely cooked them. The Thunder just turned the dial up to 11 and just put them in defensive hell.
Yep.
Turn the dial up to hell.
They did.
Hell 11.
Hello.
11.
That was bad.
Or they turned it up to 666. One of the two.
There you go.
There you go. But you're right. It did feel like that was a turning point there in that fourth quarter. They just absolutely the defense,
which it could have swung the opposite way after a play like that, right? You go to the basket, you don't get a call. It's a turnover instead. That could easily flip the script the opposite direction.
Luka was starting to feel it for the first time all game.
Yep, absolutely. You know, one thing we have not talked about yet is what comes next. We've spent this whole time talking about tonight.
Can I say one more thing about tonight?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
There was clearly a best player on the floor.
Indeed.
Oh yeah.
Shai busted their ass.
He
Luka
came
had
out
2 points
with an
going into like
agenda.
the fourth quarter.
Jacob, I said this earlier. That
And
was the
Shai-
first time since his rookie season.
Yeah, I
he
saw that
emerged
stat.
Crazy.
Shai just with a casual 39 on 65, 56, 100 splits, took 4 free throws. Mavs fans, where are you at in the chat, buddy? Where's the free throw merchant?
I've not seen a single Mavs fan in the
Where
chat
you at,
tonight.
Mavs fans?
Amazing.
We did see someone.
Come talk
You know
that
what? I'm not
shit.
going to say the name.
Nope, don't say the
No.
name.
Justin
I
did.
missed that one.
Justin
Dang it.
did say poopa done shit. I think
I fizzled
earlier.
out on the back half, but someone came in clutch in the chat.
Jacob, so I'm curious to get your thoughts on that. Speaking of Poopa Dončić, the Thunder doubled him. They were sending 2 bodies at him, and that led to some of the other players, like we become accustomed to when playing the Mavericks, the role players getting shots up and making the Thunder pay. Luka only had 2 points at halftime, but the Thunder were only up 3 points heading into the half. That paid dividends in the second half when the Thunder were getting deflections and pushing the pace and transition. But my thought, and what I said earlier in the pod, is that the Thunder have so many individual defenders, point of attack defenders, between Cason and Lou and Caruso. I don't think you necessarily have to throw 2 defenders at him at all times. Uh-oh. You're muted.
No. I
He's
get
thinking.
it. I get it to an
You pump
extent.
faked.
He did. He
But-
pump faked me.
But
Like Luka.
I didn't mind it. Those guys, I thought really in the third quarter really regressed to the mean, and that's exactly what you needed.
Yeah.
I didn't mind the game plan that much at all. And here's the thing. You can't like show and then try to recover on Luka with Hartenstein for sure. So the only other options are to switch. That's a bad plan, or to hedge really hard, and that's what they did, and I was okay with that.
Yep.
And I mean, how many points did Najee Marshall have tonight?
19.
More than he
Yeah.
usually does.
I don't think Najee Marshall has scored 19 points in his career. Right. So
Now,
good
PJ
for him.
Washington
Don't
would
fact
have
check that.
40, but I just
you know who else is a badass? Cason freaking Wallace.
Indeed. We gave Queso some love.
A lot of love.
Absolutely deserved
I
it.
argue that he deserved to be up there with Shai for
Hey.
King of the Prairie.
Hey,
His best game in a Thunder uniform is what I said, Jacob.
I
Give me
wouldn't
your
disagree.
thoughts.
I wouldn't disagree. And Alex Caruso got that steal, and I was like, oh, Alex is about to punch this thing on somebody. And then he lobbed it up, and I was like, oh, brother, what are you doing? And then Cason threw it down, and I started to unbutton the pants.
Love that for us.
Dude,
Jacob was about to find the closest socket in Paycom.
I mean, it's not that.
Anyway,
No comment. Jacob there. Hey, I know I might be in 120p right now, but I
You're
just think
more
we should
like
all keep in
10p.
mind. We should all keep in mind that the Mavericks were missing between 40 and 60 points from PJ Washington tonight, and
That's correct.
I
just
am
be aware of
dying for a Mavs fan to say something about not having PJ Washington.
I already saw it on Twitter. I
No,
saw
of
it.
course. And the Thunder didn't have Chet, so
Imagine that. That's pretty much evil. Equal.
Evil.
I was debating between even and equal.
we gotta start winding this some bitch.
Yes, so
down.
what we haven't talked about yet is what comes next.
Vegas. That was a great sounder.
It's perfect timing.
Well timing. Justin tried to-
well timing.
Yes,
Well timing. Is that what you said?
It's getting late. This is off the
Hey,
rails.
So will they play Friday?
Saturday
Saturday.
night or afternoon. They play the winner of Rockets Warriors, which will play tomorrow night.
So asshole 3 or asshole 4?
Yes. Interestingly, Silva and I were talking about this before we went live. What's interesting about the way this format is set up is the Mavericks have to play the loser. And there's a bigger conversation around the NBA Cup about like, it kind of sucks if you make it to the knockout round and lose, because then you have to play a really hard team for your extra game for no incentive. Like, that sucks. I guess that's what you get for losing. But yeah, so there's a 2:30 game and I think a 7:30 game on Saturday. So we'll see. I don't know how they'll determine who gets what slot, but the Thunder will be one of those. And then if they win, the Cup Finals on Tuesday.
Cup.
The Cup.
Big old cup.
Good grief.
I love our listeners. I don't know if I've ever seen the chat this deranged before.
Yes.
This coupled with the Discord tonight.
Yes.
Yes.
It's good.
Join the Discord because it's like this.
It's very
basically
good.
all the time.
It's
Yes.
very good.
This game was like a special mix of like kind of playoff intensity, but without the stakes, so you can just kind of fully let loose.
Like, can we say that like the Cup is good?
Oh,
Right?
it's good.
I've been a fan. I've been a fan from day one. I feel like there was a lot of skeptics about
Fill
the
up
Cup.
my cup.
there was not a lot of passion, but like this was fun. The Magic Bucks game was super fun. The Thunder game was super fun. Hopefully the games tomorrow are fun. I think it's a blast.
It has been fun. There's been some really good games.
It's more fun than a normal mid-December game.
I would argue that the biggest thing the cup has done is just it's resulted in better matchups during the regular season that we maybe wouldn't have otherwise gotten. I'm not so sure that this game would have been any different if the court was just normal colored.
Hey, the blue court, orange unis is a nice combo, Justin.
You approve?
And Justin and I are so upset because we refuse, the Thunder refuse to use colored accessories other than white.
We don't use that word anymore.
Stop it.
I also got to say, I love Taylor, or JD just always freezes with his head in his
He
hand.
freezes, yes.
That's just been the show.
Constant face palm.
I said tonight, I don't know if you guys agree. Justin might agree with me. I love the orange uniforms. They just don't look good on the white folks.
I prefer not to comment.
I agree. Jacob, I'll say it. Jacob, I agree with you.
Thank you. It just it doesn't look good on Alex.
Robot Silva agrees with you.
Yes.
Maybe our players need to have their, what's the thing where they like tell you what your colors are? They like tell you if you're a winter or a summer. And, dude, the chat has been cooking Silva's internet connection for about the last 20 minutes.
I pay for fast internet, but for some reason when
you're getting ripped off, brother.
When I fire up this stream, sometimes it just detonates. It's just like a hamster in my garage on a wheel.
You need to stick the hamster in the socket, get him back alive.
I'm pretty sure that I could pull up like a surveillance camera in Russia right now that would have a better resolution than what I'm getting from
got
you.
The resolution of that camera that Osama bin Laden used to film videos on.
Straight out of Luhan.
This stream looks like we're holding Silva hostage and we're threatening to behead him.
If anybody works for Cox Communications, give me a discount.
Not after that. They're not going to.
Anyway, what a fun episode this has been. We can all sleep on top of the graves of our enemies.
Well, I'm not going to sleep. I'm going to dance on Luka's grave.
Yes. I'm gonna go.
That fat bastard.
I'm gonna retweet some bookmark tweets I have. After
I was gonna
this.
say, who's got the Stephen A. Smith clip?
I was about to-
Oh, I have that for sure. I've had enough of that fat bastard.
What a way to end it.
just let the outro play for
Just
just a
a
second.
landing.
Just let it play for a second while I pull this up. But you can say something. So the talk.
Just let it play, but also talk.
Well, it's midnight on a Tuesday.
How we had the club going up.
Can't hear it.
We can't hear it, Jacob.
Oh, okay. Well, I tried.
You tried.
We'll retweet it.
You tried.
All right,
I'm glad I could join.
let's do.
You brought the vibes we needed.
You brought
Something. You brought
Certain-
something.
you brought a certain level of electricity.
That's what I bring to the show.
Yes. All right, we're getting out of here. We'll be
I
back.
found out my girlfriend's mother watches this podcast when I
Good
talk
for
about
you.
taking my pants off.
I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
It's best that they get to know the real you.
Part of the deal.
I promise I'm not a degenerate. It's just a front for the show.
You're a degenerate in our book.
I might be a degenerate.
All right, when's our next podcast now? This was a irregular schedule. Or are we doing it?
This is the Wednesday show.
We got to do one Saturday, right? Even though
Oh,
we,
yeah.
we are like anti-Saturday podcasters, I think we got to do one Saturday.
Got to do one Saturday. Will I be available Saturday? Who the hell knows? But,
I will not be, but you guys got to do a show.
we gotta do one.
Oh, actually, yeah, I will not be available Saturday. So hey, we'll figure that out. That's fine. That's a peek behind the curtain, fellas. We're out of here. Thanks for listening and hanging out with us. Hell of a night, hell of a win. Adios and thunder up.